If something tragic were to happen to you, is your family business prepared? While it may not be fun to create an inheritance plan, without one, a family business can be left in limbo, conflict, and possibly ruined. Today, we're speaking with Patricia Annino, Senior Advisor and Associate Partner at Cambridge Family Enterprise Group, who is an incredibly experienced lawyer and an estate planning expert. Thank you so much for being with me, Patricia.
Kim, thank you very much for having me.
So, what is an inheritance plan?
An inheritance plan is more than a stack of documents. It's part of an entire system. Because when you are in a family enterprise, you're in what I call a commonwealth situation. That means that your fate and your future is connected to many other people. And any action that happens in the system impacts you. So when you think about an inheritance plan, it's not just do you have your affairs in order? It is, does everybody in the system have their affairs in order? You have to look at it all through two lenses. One, what if something happens to me? But also, what if something happens to someone that I depend upon emotionally or financially in the family enterprise? Where do I stand? And so when we think about planning in a family enterprise system for the family business, we have to think far beyond individuals to protecting the entire system. And most people don't think like that.
So, why are so many families reluctant to create an inheritance plan?
Because it deals with uncomfortable issues. It deals with death, it deals with disability. The reality is, every single member of a family business will eventually exit. They'll either die or become disabled or walk. And so, thinking about how to intelligently plan for that departure means that you should be doing planning when there's absolutely positively no need to think about it. And people don't want to do that. Human nature is that everybody is Scarlett O'Hara and Gone with the Wind. Why do I have to think about this today? There's always tomorrow. But the real challenge is think about it now. You think about business risk mitigation now. You think about having adequate insurance in case there's a flood, in case there's a fire, in case there's a government regulation. But the reality is there will be something that affects your system as part of the inheritance plan. And preparing for it now is just so important.
So, what happens if you don't have one?
Nothing good, okay? Because what it means is there could be probate, your affairs could be public, there could be conflict over who is going to be in charge, unexpected taxes because you didn't prepare for liquidity. It could be that your business is now going to get valued very adversely and very aggressively, but in a manner that you did not control.
Hopefully, that'll scare some people into planning. So, what are some of the common mistakes you've seen people and their family businesses make?
Not understanding that planning is a process and structure is your friend. Everybody has a different planning tolerance. Most people don't want to spend a tremendous amount of money on this. They don't want to spend a lot of time on this. They've got to break it into what they can deal with. But the most important part is the commitment to the process of planning. So no matter where you are now, if you can advance it a little bit, you are way ahead of the game because structure is your friend. So lack of coordination between the corporate lawyer, the corporate documents, the estate planning documents, not having enough liquidity, assuming that the old people are going to die before the young people, another big mistake. Who knows what's going to happen to anybody? We all know somebody who is 100 years old. We all know somebody who's one. We have never had to deal with so many different generations in a family business as we do now. And so the risks are across the board. It's sustained competence, the Queen Elizabeth syndrome. It's a lack of competence. Sumner Redstone, Donald Sterling, Lillian Bettencourt. It happens to everybody, whether you're rich or whether you're poor. These risks are going to be in every single family business, and planning to mitigate the damage they caused matters.
Can you maybe give an example of a family you've worked with? You don't have to give the name, of course, where things did go unexpected, but because of, your help, it went smooth.
A long time ago, I was doing a plan for a significant business, and there were two brothers. And the older brother was planning to retire, and the younger brother was going to buy him out and take it over. And the younger brother, who was in his 30s, went and played hockey that Thursday night like he always did, and he died of a massive coronary on the hockey rink. and he had no known heart issue before that. It was a disaster. And the older brother then had to step back in. He'd already bought his house in Florida. He was gone. He just stepped back in. He had to deal with the business. The widow was distraught. And it was because the assumption was wrong, because the family made an assumption that in the natural order of things, the older brother would be the one that something was going to happen to first. It is also the only client I've ever had who had bought new life insurance and still had the old one in place. And I always tell people, do not cancel your life insurance. Let it run its course. So he weirdly enough died with double the coverage. So there was a lot of money that was able to put into the system to play to make it all work. So it was sort of inadvertent, okay, financial end. But the whole family was emotionally turned upside down. They had been working on a corporate buyout agreement. They had been doing all of that. And yet they were not willing to accept the fact that something could happen to the younger person. And so that is not, none of us know what's going to happen to anybody. And so you can't assume risks. The other thing I think is unfair for anybody who's in charge of a family enterprise to not explain to those who would be left behind what happens the day after. If I'm here today and gone tomorrow, where are you? What are you supposed to do? Let me tell you, because usually the person who's in charge knows far more about that answer to the question than anyone else. And I like people to think about that annually because it changes. Should you keep the company? Should you sell the company? Who should be in charge if I'm not here? What's the liquidity? Who should you trust? Who should you not trust? Having that open discussion about the day after matters. And I think it's fair. You can't leave the people behind scrambling to try to figure out what was in your head. It's not a good idea.
Well, I just did a study on sudden death of CEOs, and the other thing was scrambling to find the paperwork.
Yeah.
And even the bank accounts.
Scrambling to find all of that. Not everybody has been in touch with all of the advisors, not knowing who all the advisors are, not knowing what all the information is. That's all very difficult.
So creating an inheritance plan is likely very overwhelming. What's like some baby steps? Like where should someone start?
It's very overwhelming, and everybody, as I said, has a different planning tolerance. So you start with, where am I? Where are my assets? Because you know what? How many people don't even know where all their assets are, or who the primary or secondary designated beneficiary, or whether title is in one person's name or joint? They don't even know that. Okay. So the first thing you should do is gather all of the information that you are aware of, and then gather all the family enterprise information that you are aware of. And I guarantee you, you're going to find nobody's done any corporate minutes for 10 years. We don't know where the buyout agreement is. Oh, yeah, we were supposed to update it. Oh, what about the corporate records? No, we don't know any of that. No, we haven't had an appraisal done in 7 years. All of those kinds of issues. So where are you now? And then who are your current advisors? And are they the right people to be in the story? Or do you need to add more? It's really interesting because I had a very, very significant client die. And the first question the bank asked was, there are a lot of loans outstanding here. Who am I dealing with? And do I have the same level of confidence in that person as I did in the founder? Well, fortunately, I knew that question was coming. And fortunately, I had made the founder take the people who would be in charge and create that relationship with the bank. Because you don't think about the inadvertent things that could happen. The bank they could get spooked. They could pull a loan. Frequently, there are loan covenants that allow that. So looking at all of that from a risk mitigation point of view is really important. Then when you have that, think about one or two things that you could start now that won't overwhelm you. Not trying to overwhelm you, right? The point is that the planning process is what matters. And once you get on that, commit to the process and commit to the structure of the process, but do it at your own pace.
Once you have all this, do you have advice on like where to keep it? Who should have it?
More than one person should have it, and more than one person should update it. And what you should really do is have a team meeting with your key family members, your key business people, and your key advisors, and make sure everybody knows a different part of the elephant, right? So putting them in the room and having an open and honest communication really matters.
This is so incredibly helpful. So, any final piece of advice?
If you could think of one thing that you should start to do, maybe get an updated healthcare proxy, Maybe have your spouse or your parent get an updated healthcare proxy. Maybe just call the accountant and say it's tax time right now. Can we get together and also talk about succession planning or disaster planning? Just take one step.
This is absolutely brilliant. And we spoke before, and I've already started to put some of your advice into play, and also bug my own father. I think this is really going to help a lot of people. I cannot thank you enough. I'm Kim Edelstein at familybusiness.org. Please get your things in order and take Patricia's advice. It'll save your family lots of headaches and hopefully help save your family business too. Thank you, Patricia.
Thank you, Kim.